Our movie today starts with Ranjit, who is standing there arguing with the entire Kali family because he wants to take over their business after Ki dies. Bao tells him that Debi, Kali's son, has the primary right to his father's trade, but he rejects this and insists on taking everything by force. Suddenly, Ki walks in and confronts him. He questions what Ranjit wants and why he's interfering with their business, then reveals that he is actually alive. He explains that it was all a test, and Ranjit has failed. As a result, he orders him to leave for Goa to run a hotel and warns him not to make any decisions without approval. It becomes clear that the old man staged everything to test his loyalty. The story then takes us many years back to when Ki was a feared gangster, sitting with his men while following the news. One rainy night, his young son Debi is unable to sleep because he is scared. Ki comforts him, telling him to grow into a man who fears nothing. One of his men gets up to close the window as lightning frightens the child, but something far more dangerous suddenly strikes. Gunfire erupts, killing 2 people, and Ki is hit in the shoulder. Debi is left terrified, crying, and deeply traumatized by the violence, far worse than the storm outside. Doctors later advise Ki to keep his son away from the criminal world for some time. Following their advice, he sends Debi to live with his uncle Bernard, making him the only son who grows up far from his father. The story returns to the present, where Debi has grown up and comes back home for his mother's birthday. Before heading there, he visits his sweetheart Bari. She is upset and hits him for not speaking to her for 2 days, and their argument escalates, as she reminds him he hadn't seen her for 6 months. Still, he manages to calm her down with a few words. At the same time, Viswa appears, an old associate of Ki who once walked the path of crime alongside him. While Ki rose to power, Viswa did not. He arrives with an expensive diamond necklace as a gift for Ki's wife, but Ki is aware that Viswa secretly desires his position and would kill him if given the opportunity. As night falls, Viswa and his men attend the birthday party. Anwar, Ki's trusted right-hand man, warns him to stay cautious because Viswa is waiting for a chance to overthrow him. Ki assures him that he has taken precautions and proceeds to greet Viswa normally. Soon after, Debi arrives at the party with Bari, who is revealed to be Anwar's daughter. The family gathers for a photo, but Vishwa's jealousy is evident as he silently plots to destroy them. The next day, Ki meets with a group seeking his support in illegal trade. Fakira asks for protection to run drug operations, believing Ki's influence over the city and politics will ensure safe passage for shipments. Ki refuses outright, as it goes against his principles. Ranjit, however, intervenes and suggests bribing the police to move the shipments. Later, the family gathers for a meal prepared by Debi, who is revealed to be a chef. He announces that he plans to stay in India for a year to work. Ki then brings up marriage, suggesting that Debi marry Bari, since Anwar has been loyal to him for years. However, Debi says he is not ready for marriage. Around the same time, Sheila, Ranjit's sister and wife of Debi's brother Rao, insults Anwar by questioning whether his daughter is suitable for their family, bringing up his past and his wife's departure. Anwar is deeply hurt, and later expresses his anger to Debi. Bari, feeling unwelcome, tells Debi she cannot live in a family that doesn't accept her. Debi returns home and confronts Sheila, scolding her for her behavior. Ki intervenes and demands that Debi apologize, but he refuses, believing he did nothing wrong. Enraged, Ki throws him out of the house. Debi then goes to stay with his friend Charlie, who supports him as he prepares to finalize his marriage papers with Bari so they can leave for Singapore together. The next morning, Debi learns that Bari's passport is ready. He decides to pick it up while she gets ready, planning to meet afterward at the court to get married and leave the country. At the same time, Ki learns about the wedding and decides to return home to be present. However, his driver, Benani, begins acting suspiciously, delaying him and pretending to be ill. It is soon revealed that Benani has betrayed Ki and coordinated with attackers. As Ki steps out of the car, he is ambushed and shot multiple times. The attackers flee immediately after. Meanwhile, Debi, waiting at the passport office, hears news of the shooting. Shocked, he calls his brother Ram, who confirms that their father has been attacked and reveals that Francis is behind it. Debi rushes to the hospital where Ki has been taken. The nurse informs him of his location and that the police have detained their men. Sensing something is wrong, he hurries upstairs. There, he notices 2 men posing as doctors entering his father's room with the intention of injecting him. Realizing something is off, Debi confronts them and quickly identifies them as imposters. He attacks them fiercely, using an electric shocker to subdue them and protect his father. After dealing with them, he reports the situation to the hospital director and calls his brother. At that moment, a corrupt cop named Dial arrives and begins arguing with Debi. It becomes clear that he has been bribed and is not interested in protecting Ki. Furious, Debi demands proper security, but Dial mocks him. Realizing the truth, Debi loses control and slaps him. Just then, his brother Ram arrives and escalates the situation by threatening the officer with his weapon. Right then, Shinai arrives, a good officer, and lets the other corrupt officer know these are the commissioner's orders and they must secure Ki. Ki's son looks at the hospital director and says he must return home. The director says his condition is difficult and it's not good to move him, but his sons insist, so they move him home with all the equipment that will help him. The doctor lets them know he's in a coma, but there's zero danger to his life and he'll wake up from this coma at any time. Downstairs, Anwar, the assistant, arrives and wants to go up to see him, but Sheila tells him, "You're not family and you won't see him." Also, Ranjit accuses him of being the reason for what happened to Ki because he's a traitor. Anwar pulls his weapon and aims it at his face, being beyond angry. Right then, Ratna gets up and tells him what you did is wrong. He apologizes because he lost his cool. Right then, Ram goes down to take him, but his wife tells him this is a traitor and he won't go up. He argues with her and says he's going up. Right then, Debbie comes down and finds out what happened. Instead of helping his father-in-law, he tells him to go back home. Anwar returns shocked and tells his daughter what happened. She says, "I'll talk to Debbie to teach them a lesson." He says, "He was standing right there while I was being insulted and told me to go back home." She goes crazy because her lover let her father be insulted in his own house. The next day, Debbie and everyone are gathered wanting to know who the traitor among them is. Bao keeps saying names of people working with them, but none of them fit to be the traitor until he says if the driver Babani's stomach hadn't heard, none of this would have happened. Here, Debbie understands he's the traitor. He sends Buddha, one of his men, to talk to him. He finds him eating. His stomach is fine and there's zero problem. He knows he's the traitor. He pulls the pistol and gives him a shot from under the table. He asks, "Remember how much he gave you?" He says, "500,000 rupees. Debbie gives him another shot, then gets up and tells his wife, "You can live on this amount until you get married, but this traitor must die." The next day, they're all gathered thinking of a way to get rid of Fakira and Francis. Sheila jumps into the talk like every time and says, "Isn't it Anwar who runs Dad's business? Surely, there's something behind it." Her husband gets furious at her because she's insulting the man who was always by his father's side and his right hand, but she sees him as a traitor. Anyway, Debbie calms them down and says, "If we want to reach Fakira and Francis, it'll be through the police because Officer Dial is definitely with them and he's the one who will deliver our message to them." On the other hand, Bari enters her father's room and says, "I'm sorry." He's shocked because he couldn't believe his daughter could do that and put his head in the dirt. She says, "I swear Debbie and I were going to get married, but his father took a bullet." He goes to the phone to call Debbie to let him know. She says, "Don't bother. He hasn't called me in 8 days. It looks like the end. He doesn't know what to do." After a bit, Viswa comes to his house to make a deal. He says, "Long ago, Ki and I came to this city and decided to be its leaders, but Ki became the president, all with your help. In the end, I won nothing at all. That's why I'm here to offer you a deal. Be on my side and you'll take good money." Anwar rejects his talk and kicks him out. Before leaving, Viswa decides to blackmail him. He says, "My nephew Bobby is a handsome and nice guy. My advice to you, marry your daughter to him because her stomach will grow soon and you'll be exposed." This shocks Anwar because he found out about the pregnancy too. When Ranjit and his sister Ratna come out, they were outside and saw him. The devil played with their heads and they went back and told their brothers, but Ram doesn't believe at all that Anwar could betray them. His wife says, "I don't know if he did magic on you or what." He gets furious at her. Right then, Debbie shuts them up and says, "Bring Anwar here, and if he turns out to be a traitor, I'll finish him off." But before they call him, a phone call comes from Dial. He lets them know he delivered their message to Fakira and Francis, and they'll be at his house at 8 p.m., but they want Debbie to come alone. Debbie agrees to go see what they want and how they'll settle this dispute. Sheila says, "What about Anwar?" He says, "Everything will end today." He sends Ranjit to his house to bring him. Even though his daughter refuses to let him go alone, he insists on going with him. At the same time, Debbie goes to Dial's house and meets them. They tell him, "Your father did this to himself. We offered him 40% of the drug trade profits, but he refused. So, we decided to talk to you, but it'll only be 20%. And also, we'll take protection money from your trade." Debbie says, "So you think we've become weak then?" He says, "Yes, and if you don't agree to our talk, we'll finish you and your family off." Debbie stands up and says, "I'm going to finish the 3 of you off." Francis says, "I thought you were smart, and we said let's come negotiate, but you turned out stupid." He calls Shaber, his assistant, to finish him off. Debbie sits back down calmly. He looks at Fakira and says, "You bought Babani for 500,000 rupees, but Shaber, I bought him for only 250. He takes his pistol from him and kills them both. Then he goes to Dial, the mastermind, and says, "So you hit me in the hospital. Fine. I didn't know you were that dangerous. What's past is dead. Let's open a new page, and I'll be your right hand, but you can only be left, my friend. He attacks him and keeps hitting him and his assistant. Time came to break every bone in his body. After finishing his hand, he moves to his leg and ends it by breaking his neck. Thus, he killed the three and comes out with his men. Shaber asks, "Where's my share?" Debbie says, "Honestly, I don't trust traitors." He lets his assistant finish him off. At the same time, Ranjit is with Anwar in the car asking, "How much did you sell yourself for?" Anwar gets furious and says, "When your father wakes up, I'll tell him everything." Ranjit says, "You won't have time," and finishes him off, throwing him in the street along with Peter, the driver. He goes back and tells Debbie that he was trying to escape and fired at them because he's a traitor, which is why he finished him off. But Debbie is about to go crazy because he wanted to be sure if he was a traitor or not. His sweetheart goes to see her father, who was killed and thrown in the street. She's crying and can't believe what happened. She goes to Debbie's house and hits Ranjit, who killed her father. She enters to her lover, who is the reason for all this, and lets him know her father was killed from behind. He says it's because he was escaping. She doesn't believe it, and knows Ranjit killed him for no reason. She swears by the child in her stomach that she'll kill him. He's shocked because she turns out to be pregnant, and he's the reason for his son's grandfather's death. After that, Shandai talks to Rao and tells him, "The police are coming to catch your brother because he killed an officer." They get him out of the house before he's arrested. An officer comes wanting to catch him. Buddha says, "Not here." The officer hits him and continues until he finds Bao, who says, "Where's the search warrant?" He pushes him too and goes up to the room where Ki is sleeping. He says, "So, you're sleeping while letting your son escape?" He looks at his wife and says, "Where's your son?" She looks at him with total spite and says, "He doesn't live here." He goes down after knowing he escaped and isn't there. He fires a shot at Buddha because he's annoyed and writes in his report that he tried to attack him. After that, Ratna talks to her brother, who's hiding with Bandi, his father's friend, and lets him know he's fine and good. Ranjit, her husband, is next to her wanting to talk to him, but she rejects him and shuts him down, saying she'll talk to him tomorrow. He feels the whole family treats him like a stranger and insists on knowing his location. Devi is at Bandi and thanks him for helping him. At the same time, the men of Rooney Francis's brother arrive and start firing at the place. Our guy comes out quickly to defend himself with his weapon. He starts killing them, and it's clear he's well trained, taking them down one by one. At the same time, his father wakes up from the coma. He finds his whole family around him except his son Debbie. He asks about him, and then finds out Debbie killed Fakira Francis and also the deputy police commissioner. He waits to recover and goes to meet the minister with the commissioner to fix everything happening. The commissioner says, 40 million and I'll let your son return to the city. He says, 50 from me and nobody touches him. The minister says this way the police won't talk to him. The issue now is Rooney, Francis's brother, who won't stay quiet. He gathers all the men, including Rooney, and apologizes to him for everything. But Rooney rejects his apology and says, I don't want your help in the drug trade. His assistant keeps threatening them with death. Viswas says, no, this matter is getting stale. He lets Robert, his assistant, break his skull and puts him to the side. He starts talking, saying Rooney will continue his drug trade and Key will help him for 20% of the profits, and any trade belonging to Key will also be shared, with everyone getting 20%. Ram asks, who said this? His father says, I did, and shuts him up. The meeting ends. Debbie returns to his house after they settled all accounts with their enemies. He sees his father and checks on him. He says, let's stop the illegal work and close all this. Everyone is surprised by his talk, but his father agrees and tells them Debbie will make all the decisions from now on. Ram agrees, but Ranjit doesn't like this. He goes to Sheila, the big devil, and keeps firing her up. The next day, there's a party with all the businessmen in the city. Debbie sees his sweetheart Bari with Bobby, who got engaged to her because he doesn't care who she's pregnant from. He leaves them alone to talk. She says, I heard your father woke up safely. Did you ask him about my father's loyalty or not? He says, no, but what I know is every human weakens before money. She promises him she'll finish him and his family off soon. As for him, the next day he decides to change his family's trade. They close all their illegal work and open schools, colleges, and hotels. All their upcoming work will be clean. Rao and Bao agree with his talk, but Ranjit is shocked because these things won't bring them money like drug money or anything illegal they worked in. Time passes and Bari gives birth and also lives a happy life with Bobby. Debbie is focused on his work and goes to meet his friend Charlie, who has a girl named Chandy with him. She's very much into Debbie and goes to talk to him, wanting to get close. Despite the fact that there's supposedly nobody in his life, he's unable to be into her because Bari is still in his heart despite everything. He calls her and says, "I miss you." But she refuses to talk to him because of what he did to her father. He asks her to see his son just once. She says, "This isn't your son. This is Bob's son," and hangs up in his face. The next day, Ram brings a car for his sister to go to the hotel she's now running with Ranjit, her husband. Ranjit feels jealous because he's working for his wife's family. When he finds out she got a car, he grabs her and hits her because he's not enjoying her family's money like she is. When Ram finds out what happened, he goes to the hotel and goes to town on him because he dared to lay a hand on his sister. This dispute gives a chance for Viswa and all his men to use Ranjit to get rid of Ki and his family. But Bari tells them no because he's a traitor, and if someone else offers him money, he'll betray us. Rooney asks her what's her business in the gang. She shoots the glass in front of him because she's no longer the poor girl Bari. Now she has a reason for revenge. On the other hand, Kali's men let him know that nobody in the city fears them anymore. Also, Viswa and his men killed 2 of their men a week ago. Kali says they won't be able to do anything and suggests reporting to the police. Everyone is surprised by his talk because the police have always worked with criminals. Debbie tells them they will return stronger than before, but not through crime this time, through politics. They will enter the elections and win. Ranjit tells him that's fine and says he'll run, but Kali says no, his wife is the one who will enter the elections. Ranjit mocks the idea, asking if he'll just be her secretary, walking behind her and answering her calls. Her brother gets up and hits him because of what he said. Ranjit leaves the house filled with spite toward the family. At the same time, Bari sees in the news that Debbie met Chandi at a party and might marry her. She quickly calls him and says, "Don't you dare marry her." He realizes she's still jealous over him and laughs. She says, "I swear if you marry her, I'll make her a widow." He says this is proof she still loves him. She cries because she actually still loves him and hangs up quickly. On the other hand, Ratna is at home and finds out her husband is a traitor, returning drunk after spending 2 nights outside. She hits him because he was cheating, and in response, he beats her. She calls Ram to let him know. He looks at his wife, Sheila, and says he's going to kill her brother today. He takes his car and rushes to his house. But on the road, Vishwa's gang appears and captures him. This was all a plan to catch one of the Kali family. Ranjit arrives after taking a lot of hits from Ram, grabs a saw, and cuts him up. After that, his father and brother arrive to see the disaster along with Viswa, who pretends to be surprised. Even Ranjit enters, acting and crying over his friend's body. After that, Debbie is in the garage and finds one of his men saying they want to replace a car seat because the front seat back got burned. This makes him suspicious. When he looks in the car, he finds traces of blood. He asks if this was the car Ranjit used when he brought Anwar. When the man says yes, Debbie is shocked. He confirms Ranjit is the one who killed Anwar, the traitor, and returns to inform his family. Ram's mother talks to Bari while crying and says nobody in the family is able to talk to her after they learn the truth, and her loyal father died a traitor. She asks for forgiveness and says they should start a new page, stop all illegal work, and stay away from trouble. That's why Bari goes to Viswa and lets him know the Kali family has given up all their trade and shouldn't be attacked during their son's mourning. But Rooney insists on revenge because his brother was killed. She stands in front of him and points a weapon at his face. Viswa calms them and says no attack will happen, but secretly plans to cooperate with Rooney and eliminate her as well. In the morning, the entire Kali family is gathered. Ranjit says he'll go get something and calls his sister Sheila to come with him. As he's leaving, he secretly gives an order to the men. They pull out weapons and start firing because this is the only chance the entire Kali family is together. Sheila realizes her brother is a traitor and set them up. She runs out to catch them but gets shot in the back. Chandi is there and runs to get a car to save her, but the car explodes before she can move. Kali meets with his son and says they must put an end to all of this and change the family's path for good. 14 people from our family died in the blink of an eye. Debbie tells him the next plan and moves him to the farmhouse so he can be alone. Ranjit lets Viswa know, who sends 2 to finish him off while he's in the garden. But this wasn't key. It was just a trick to fake his death. His son Debbie holds his funeral ceremony on the basis that he died. At that moment, Bari comes and goes to offer condolences. Debbie tells her, "There's nobody left but me. Kill me so you finish off my whole family as you said, because if I don't die now, I'll kill you later." Finally, our guy knows that if he doesn't move now, his end will be close. After he found out Rooney and Viswa want to meet him in this way, they'll surely finish him off, but our guy has a plan and agrees to meet them. Viswa will come first to the temple. There, he sees him praying for his father, and tells him to wait until he finishes the prayer. But this was a trick because at the same time he left someone in his place and went to Rooney before coming to the meeting. As soon as he enters, he finds him at his back, gives him a flying strike, and pins him with a weapon to kill him. He says, "You had a plan, but it's gone." Debbie flies at him, hitting him and knocking his weapon away. He starts hitting his men with total violence until he finishes them all off. In the end, he gets rid of Rooney and leaves him. Returning to the meeting, Viswa is shocked because he had left him praying next to him, and suddenly he came from the other side. Debbie says, "Sorry, man. You know I don't like praying, so I left someone in my place." Here, Viswa knew he killed Rooney, so he returned home shocked. Even Ranjit came to him and let him know the end is near. Viswa says, "I have a plan." He calls Bari, who gets a phone call that Debbie wants her. She leaves her son with Bobby and goes out. At the same time, Viswa arrives and takes the kid from his nephew Bobby and makes his assistant strangle him. At that time, Bari had reached the house and tells Debbie's father that he wanted her. Ranjit was the one who called and told her. Ranjit is present and says, "I didn't do that." She runs back to her house quickly and sees Bobby, her husband, dead, and also her son missing. Viswa tells her, "Surely Debbie is the one who did that." Debbie is actually in the temple finishing his brother Ram's funeral rites. In a second, men arrive and kill his men, and the firing starts. He finds Viswa with Bari, who is firing at him because she thinks he took her son. He pulls his pistol and starts killing the men and tries to escape quickly until Robert, Viswa's assistant, reaches him. He looks very strong, but our guy is the one with the edge and keeps hitting him until he was about to kill him. At that moment, he takes a bullet from the love of his life and falls into the water. Unfortunately, Viswa was going to finish off the last of the Key gang, but Bari tells him, "Wait, he'll tell me my son's location." Viswa laughs and tells her, "Your son is with me over there. Look. I just wanted someone to help me get rid of the Key family, and there was nobody I could exploit but you." She runs quickly to her son to defend him. At that moment, our hero comes out of the water when he knows his family is in danger. He starts hitting Viswa and his assistant until he sends him flying. The big head, the cause of all these problems, remains. He sends him flying away after bringing him to his limit. But Robert gets up again and grabs his sweetheart, wanting to break her skull. Debbie gets up again, grabs a dagger from the floor, and finishes him off. But finally, the 2 bullets in his body exhaust him, and he falls to the ground. His sweetheart grabs his hand while crying, regretting everything she did. She tells her son that this is his father, but it was too late because Debbie dies. After a while, Key is riding his car with his daughter Ratna. They catch Vishwa's men, and they let him know Ranjit was the one who killed his son. So, he lets his wife Ratna finish him off in the end. And with that, our movie ends. Hope you liked it. Do share your thoughts in the comments below.